Hi guys, it's Lynn here. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Now in this video I'm going to show you how you can propagate Cissus quadrangularis succulent plant from cuttings. And this is my Cissus here, which I've had for a few years here. It's a very unusual plant, as you can see. Just scan up to show you. We've got it tied up, growing up there on a piece of garden twine, because it's a vining plant that's related to the grape family and very unusual. I mean, I love this plant because I love the shape of it. It has the lovely sort of square sort of shape, which is very unusual, and propagating is very easy to do. Now I'm going to make a separate video on how to care for Cissus quadrangularis, so stay tuned for that video coming up in the next few weeks. This is just about propagating it. And obviously, as many succulents, the best time to propagate them is spring and summer when they're actively growing. But you can also propagate this in the early fall, autumn time as well. Now what you want to do with this rather unusual plant, as with all succulent cuttings, you want to make sure that you let them callus beforehand before potting them up. And with this here, you want to make sure, see, these are the joins here. It's obviously unusual how it grows into its little segments. You want to cut them where you have a join, as in this case here. I'll just show you here. This is where all the joins are, and you want to cut them with either a sharp knife or a pair of pruning shears, as in this case here. Now these are what I've already cut earlier, and I've actually let them callus over for 2 weeks. So when you do cut them, you must make sure that you let them callus over for about 10 days to 2 weeks, which I'll just show you there. So they form a white scab at the end and it's completely calloused over. And the reason being for that is, if you was to just cut them and then potted them up, they could rot, because succulents do need to be completely hardened off before potting them up into soil. Now when it comes to taking the segments, as I mentioned, you need to make sure that you prune at where there's a segment, say here for example, and where you can see the segments there at the join. And you can either take one piece like this, or you can take a few segmented joints. They sometimes say that if you take 3 or more of the segments to prune it as one cutting, it's more effective than taking individual cuttings. But personally myself, I've not found it makes any difference. They'll root very well. What you do want to make sure is, when you do cut them and you're letting them callus, that you make sure you make a note of what is the right way. It's easy to tell with these what's the right way, but when you're cutting just one segment and say that's the right way there, and you cut it and then you turn it over to dry and you can't remember whether that's the right way or that way. When it comes to potted, if you're potting it up the wrong way, it may still root, but it may not send any new growth. So you want to make sure that you make a note of what is the cut part, as in this part is this one here. And that means that when you pot it up, the new growth will come from here. Now you can pot them up. Also, you can pop them up obviously straight down like that, and roots will come down, or you can also plant them on their sides as well, and roots will come down from both these sides here, and new shoots will come up at either side, which is the right side. So if you're not sure, you can't remember which is the right side that you cut, then you can always plant it on its side and it will root as well. But in this case, I know which way direction it is, so I'm just going to plant them straight down. And as I say, you can take up one segment or some segments together. And what you want to do then is make sure that you've got some well-drained cactus and succulent mix. In this case, I've made my own with some loam-based soil, LOAM. I'm using John Innes here, and it's a special seed and cutting soil. And I've mixed in pumice as well, and a little bit of grit in there, an extra sharp horticultural sand. So I've just made that mix up myself, but you can use any well-draining cactus and succulent soil. I've used this at a ratio of about 60% loam soil, 20% pumice, and about 10% perlite, and also 10% sand in there as well, and giving it all a good mix. So it's well-draining and it dries out quick. Now there's no need to put any rooting powder on the ends. As I say, the most important thing is to make sure that they've calloused over for about 10 days to 2 weeks. And when you've took the cuttings, you want to make sure that you have them in a bright position but away from direct sun. When I took these cuttings, I left these here in my grow room, close to the grow lights but away from directly under the grow lights and away from direct sun, because you don't want the cuttings to dry out too quick, but you also want them to still get light in the meantime while they're callousing over. So that's really it. So I've made the soil up, took the cuttings, and I've mentioned obviously make sure you make a note of what is the right way that you've cut it. So when you go to pot them up, you know which should be the downside and what's the upside. 2 pots here, and then I'm going to go and fill these up about 3/4 of the way full, and then show you how to pot them up. Now I'm going to fill the soil up then, about 3/4 of the way full. So it's really important to use a well-draining soil because cissus is very rot prone if it's kept in soil that doesn't drain very well. I'm just going to be spraying them, keeping the top of the soil lightly moist just to encourage rooting, but I'm not going to be watering them as I normally would water a plant because they haven't got roots. And what I'm going to be doing here then is putting this one, I say, make sure you keep a note of the right way. If you really don't know, then you're better off just planting it on its side and then roots will come down and it will come up, as I mentioned. And you want to make sure that when you pot it up, you go about 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep into the soil. You don't want to put it in too deep because that could encourage rot. You just want to have enough in there just to support it and it can root. So here, a bit in there, to about there. I'm going to put a bit more soil in on this afterwards. And then I'm going to put a couple of these little small ones. That's the right end. In there, another one there, in there, another one there, in there, and then soil on the top. You just want to just gently press it down so obviously the cutting is supported. That's that one, and then the same with this one. Again, you want to make sure, now this has only got a small piece there, but I'm going to put that up to about there, so about 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep down. Same with this one, to about there. And this one as well, the right end. In the middle, you want to leave a bit of space in between each one. You can pot them all up into individual pots, or in this case I'm putting a few in the same pot. You can pot them on as and when they get bigger and they root. And you'll know when they root because you'll see new growth coming from the top. It's a fast growing plant and it's good actually to prune them and take cuttings of them, because if you prune them they grow bushier, which is good because it's a vining plant and it can grow very fast if it's given plenty of sunshine. But as I said, I'm going to do a whole care video on how to care for Cissus quadrangularis in the future. Stay tuned for that. So that's that, and then just stick the little labels on. There we go, that's that. And as I say, I'm not going to be watering them like I normally would water. I'm going to be keeping these not properly watered now until they've actually took root, because you'll know, as I say, you'll know when they've rooted because you'll see signs of new growth coming from the top. What I am going to do though, it's good to keep the soil very lightly moist. So in this case, I'm just going to spray the very top of the soil, just around the base there. And I'm going to do this probably every couple of days, just to keep the top of the soil very lightly moist. And then I'm going to be putting these then, keeping this on this table. They're close to the grow lights in my room here, but they're away from directly under strong sunshine. So when you've got cuttings, you want them to have plenty of light and also heat as well, because that will encourage rooting. If you have even a heat pad, that will also encourage rooting as well. But keep them away from direct strong midday sunshine, because that can stress them until they've rooted. Once they're fully rooted, they've got new growth. Cissus quadrangularis loves a lovely sunny position. So as I say, these are going to go under the grow lights, but away from direct strong sun until they've got properly rooted. So I hope you found that video useful, guys, and for lots more tips and tricks on how you can care for and grow cacti and succulents, then please do subscribe to my channel. Also, click that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. And you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And for lots of more information on how to care for and grow cacti and succulents, and for regular blogs, please do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness and tons of plant power from across the Emerald Isle. And until my next video, bye.